Akatsuki Osawa, after slaying the Dark Lord, tries to return to his own world, but several maids try to prevent him from leaving. He effortlessly defeats them by taking out their underclothes, rendering the maids incapable of stopping him. Listy, the queen of the castle, also asks him to stay, though he says he must return. Before he departs through the portal, he says that no matter where he is, if she calls for him, he will come to her aid. Back in Japan, he opens his bag to reveal a girl inside named Miyu. She shies away and stares out the window, dazzled by the city. He plans to have her act as his long-lost sister to those around them. The next day, they are brought to Japan's Babel, one of the schools set up by the United Nations around the world to deal with those who return from parallel worlds to help train their powers. After passing the physical examinations, they are brought to a training room to determine their power level. The instructor explains that throughout the school, all damage is transformed into mental damage, so the only real danger is from going unconscious. Miyu uses her magic to great effect, knocking out the instructor, while Akatsuki insists on using his fists. However, with the instructor unconscious, Kiyoya, the school student council president, volunteers to fight him instead. He summons a giant ice pillar, intending to hurt Miyu, but Akatsuki saves her just in time. He challenges Akatsuki to destroy the ice pillar, and if he does, he will be his opponent. Akatsuki lacks magical power, but possesses a power called Linked Energy Manipulation, which allows him to manipulate the latent energy of himself and those close to him. Akatsuki strikes the pillar, but it is seemingly left intact. When Akatsuki and Miyu leave, Kiyoya inspects the ice pillar and finds that it has been shattered from the inside out. Later, Akatsuki and Miyu have dinner, where a flashback reveals that Miyu is the daughter of the Dark Lord Garius, whom he entrusted to Akatsuki to protect. The next day, Akatsuki and Miyu attract unwanted attention by making it all the way to Class B, unheard of among first years. They meet Chikage, who warns Akatsuki not to sit at a specific seat, but he ignores her warnings. Onizuka, a student who recently dropped from Class A, angrily yells at him to get out of his seat, but Akatsuki effortlessly defeats him, knocking him unconscious. The disturbance attracts the attention of the disciplinary committee, who calls Akatsuki to the council room. Once there, he haughtily sits down on President Kiyoya's chair, which enrages the council members. When Kiyoya shows himself, Akatsuki throws himself at him, but he is stopped by the other council members. He is warned that further outbursts like earlier would be met with harsh sentence. Akatsuki leaves the room and meets his class representative, Kazuha, a small girl that skipped several grades to get into Class B. She warns him against further trying to provoke the student council, but he remarks that he left a small fire in the council room. Haruka, the vice president, chases after him, as it is revealed he snatched her underclothes earlier. She tries attacking him, but he easily subdues her again by taking away more of her clothes, embarrassing her further. She runs away, swearing to punish him one day. Later, while cleaning up in the PE shed, Kazuha, Akatsuki, and Miyu find Chikage making out with another girl. The girl runs away in embarrassment, causing the door to lock and trapping the four of them inside. However, Kazuha soon feels the need to go to the bathroom, and she begins to cry. Akatsuki, who always responds to a woman's tears, comes up with a plan. He touches both Miyu and Chikage, and using his linked energy manipulation, makes them feel the need to go as well. As a finishing touch, he bites Kazuha's ear, causing all three of them to wet themselves. They are saved when Haruka finds them inside the shed, and the three girls rush out, swearing to get back at him someday. Onizuka's bullying has come to an end due to Akatsuki, leaving him bitter and resentful. Meanwhile, because of Akatsuki's troublemaking, Kazuha is forced by the student council to create a report of his actions every morning. If she fails, she will be returned to elementary school. Akatsuki catches her in an elevator, where he reveals he predicted that they would ask her to do that. She remarks that she wants to be an adult, so Akatsuki drags her to a manga cafe, followed by Miyu and Chikage. In a private room, Akatsuki asks her what she wants. She replies that she wants to be an adult. He says that it's okay to laugh, cry, and smile alongside the rest of Class B. She smiles and she thanks him for his help, remarking that she would have let him have his way with her if it wasn't so sudden. During PE, the students are presented with special bands that summon a weapon that best suits them according to their image. But Akatsuki's band fails to summon anything, and he reveals that he can't use any real magic. The students are then split into two blocks. One will fight in groups to face off against a cockatrice, while those who prefer to fight solo will remain in the other. Onizuka fights Akatsuki, but he once again is easily defeated despite his desperate efforts. On the other side, the powered-up cockatrice begins wreaking havoc on the wholly unprepared students, turning several of them to stone. They are defeated one by one, until only Mui remains, but she is saved just in time by Akatsuki. Using several of the special bands, he summons a gigantic black blade to slay the cockatrice. Akatsuki goes off to investigate the true culprit behind the incident, Tanaka, a man he defended from Onizuka's bullying. Akatsuki correctly estimates that Tanaka is quite a strong fighter, and he used Onizuka's tampering with the summoning system as an opportunity to make the cockatrice go even more berserk. Tanaka threatens to reduce the whole building to rubble. However, he is suddenly frozen in ice with the arrival of Kayuya. Later, Akatsuki returns to the arena where the students are being treated, and he catches Mui just as she collapses. He brings her to the clinic and uses his ability to stimulate her healing factor. Noticing she's in trouble, he says that she is allowed to cry, as despite everything that has happened, he is still the one who killed her father. Overwhelmed, Mui weeps into Akatsuki's arms. The next day, Mui plans to ask Chikage and Kazuha to go out shopping. While she showers, she sees Tanaka on the ceiling practicing his energy manipulation abilities. Embarrassed, she slaps him in a fit. Later, Akatsuki is approached by a mysterious blonde-haired student who tries to punch him as a greeting. After a brief brawl, the man introduces himself as Kaido, a member of Class A. Impressed with Akatsuki's combat prowess, invites him out the following week. As promised, Kaido brings Akatsuki out behind the school, where an auto shop dedicated to conduct experiments is located. There they meet a mechanic whom Kaido refers to affectionately as Pops and asks him to show it. Akatsuki approaches a motorcycle but is repelled by an unknown force. Pops explains that the motorcycle, called Sleipnir, is made of a legendary metal and boasts over 16 million horsepower, capable of breaking the sound barrier. He warns him that Sleipnir chooses his rider and that only Akatsuki's father, Guki, was the only one to ever tame it. Akatsuki, not wanting to be outdone, successfully rides and tames Sleipnir, causing Pops to relinquish its ownership to him. However, the commotion it causes attracts the attention of Haruka, who demands the motorcycle's confiscation. She tries reaching out to the bike, but her clothes are ripped apart. She suddenly receives an alert to respond to a terrorist attack. Akatsuki lends her his coat, and she bashfully says that she'll return it, but swears to punish him one day. Terrorists claiming to be the Crimson Twilight have taken control of a hotel and demand that their arrested comrades be released. Haruka, alongside the other two members of the student council, Ryuhei and Minami, infiltrate and engage the terrorists. They successfully subdue most of them, but a gunman takes a small child hostage and brings her to the rooftop where he demands a getaway helicopter. Haruka is forced to accept his demands, but signals to Ryuhei and Minami to jump him the moment he lets down his guard. However, the child begins to cry, and once her tears hit the ground, Akutsuki appears, knocking out the terrorists in one fell swoop. Haruka reprimands him for unnecessarily endangering himself and the hostage, but he ignores her. Meanwhile, a lone terrorist, disguised as a civilian, plots to bomb the entire building, but he is caught by Kaido, angry that they used the Crimson Twilight name. Later, Haruka returns Akutsuki's coat to Miu. Although outwardly annoyed at him, she begins showing signs of developing feelings for him. As thanks for saving her daughter from terrorists, Akutsuki, Mui, Kazuha, Chikage, alongside the student council receive a free trip to the beach. Although initially reluctant, Haruka eventually joins the four. They later find a special swimsuit tag competition, wherein one participant will be the target, while the rest of the participants will try and remove his or her swimsuit for a cash prize. Kaido, who happens to be working at the event part-time, convinces them to join. Through Kaido's manipulation, Akutsuki is chosen as the target, and he immediately runs away. Soon, competitors come after him, but he turns the tables by removing their swimwear instead. Kazuha and Chikage manage to trap Akutsuki, but he easily climbs out of the sandpit and strips Chikage. However, Kaido stops him from stripping Kazuha, as it would be illegal. Akutsuki then chases down and strips Haruka inside the women's bathroom before making his way out to sea, where he finds Mui. However, the MC declares them disqualified, as the ocean is out of bounds. He carries her back to shore, and she softly apologizes to her father, as she cannot find it in herself to kill him. Meanwhile, in the other world, called Elazard, Lord Garam has plans to seek out Mui, to eliminate her as a possible threat to their world's peace. He organizes for a man called Phil to travel to Japan to seek out Mui, as only those from the other world may use the gate necessary to travel there. Despite Listy's protests, Lord Garum instructs Phil to find and return Mui to them, and if necessary, he is to eliminate Akutsuki. Akatsuki, Mui, Kazuha, and Chikage form a team for the 2-day promotion exams. The exam begins, and Akatsuki's team is immediately attacked by wave after wave of students, eager to take his ranking and the reputation that comes with defeating him. However, his team is more than a match, leaving the exam observers stunned at their rapid progress. Night soon falls, and the group is visited by Haruka and the student council, who intend to defeat Akatsuki here and now. They agree to fight 3-on-1. They find a clearing where Ryuhei casts a magic field to cancel out all sound of their battle. Haruka tries to fight him by herself, but she is quickly outmatched by the superior Akatsuki, forcing Ryuhei and Minami to intervene, and they reprimand her for acting on her own. They are about to fight 3-on-1, but Kaido interrupts them, pointing out that Babble's defense field, which prevents physical harm, has been disabled, pointing to the blood on Akatsuki's cheek. They notice an explosion where Mui and the others were, and Akatsuki quickly runs to their aid. Akatsuki and the student council arrive back at their camp, where they find out that Mui has been captured by Phil. Akatsuki immediately asks the student council to tend to the other students, while he seeks out Phil. They accept his orders, but they say they will follow him as soon as they finish. Meanwhile, Mui attempts to escape Phil, but her magic attacks are useless. Onizuka suddenly appears to defend her. It is revealed that he was convinced by Phil to disable the school's magic barrier, taking advantage of his grudge against Akatsuki. However, Onizuka says he no longer wishes to be pulled along by his grudge and won't accept being an accessory to some terrorists. He uses his signature fire magic against Phil, but even that fails to faze him. He is thrown against a wall by Phil's magic, knocking him unconscious. He awakens to find Akatsuki tending to his wounds, and he points him in the direction where Mui was taken. Akatsuki calls out to Kaido, who he sensed has been following him this entire time, to bring Onizuka to the medical team, while he continues his pursuit of Phil. Meanwhile, Mui has been cornered by Phil by a cliffside, where he intends to bring her back to execute her in public. He says that as long as she exists in this world, more and more will try and come after her, which causes her to realize she is in danger to those she loves. He tries to sexually assault her, suspecting that she seduced Akatsuki in some way so that she could escape Alizard. She begins to cry, and when her tears touch the ground, a gust of wind brings with it Akatsuki, who has arrived to save her. Akatsuki begins his duel against Phil, and the two are evenly matched at first. Phil's magic appears to give him the advantage, but Akatsuki explains that his linked energy manipulation allows him to fend off magical attacks. As Akatsuki gradually gains the upper hand, Phil changes tactics and attempts to hold Mui hostage. He has Akatsuki lay down his weapon and explains that he wants to kill Mui so that he can be recognized as a proper hero in Alizard, an answer which causes Akatsuki to laugh, as he now knows that Phil's motives are not noble or profound, but it is purely out of pettiness and jealousy. An enraged Phil tries to attack the unarmed Akatsuki, but his sword strike is blocked by the latter's force field. He then beats Phil to a pulp, but when he sees Mui run away, he chases after her towards a cliffside. She says that she no longer has a place to belong. If Alizard means death to her and her clan, and this world means death to her friends, then the only recourse is death. She throws herself into the nearby river, intending to drown herself, but she is saved by Akatsuki. He says that her father, Garius, fought to the bitter end for a world where she could live peacefully, and that her attempt on her own life is not self-sacrifice, but cowardice. He adds that a sense of belonging to any one world is incorrect. Her proper place is beside him. The two kiss passionately, but Akatsuki suddenly collapses because of a deadly poison. Mui, afraid he will die, tries to warm him up with her body heat. However, it is revealed he was conscious the entire time, as he just used his ability to counteract the poison, much to Mui's embarrassment. However, their peace is short-lived. Phil has returned with a vengeance. To Akatsuki and Mui's horror, Phil has made a pact with one of Alizard's Dragon of Woe, the poisonous Zehark. He transforms into a draconic form and begins wreaking havoc. With Akatsuki still in poor form due to the poison, Mui volunteers to be bait to buy him time. Akatsuki then runs into Kazuha and Chikage, who have recovered from their injuries. He informs them of his condition and Mui's plan, and the two girls rush to her aid. Meanwhile, Mui is joined by the student council, and after learning of the plan, cheekily says that there's no problem if they happen to beat the dragon first. Soon, Kazuha and Chikage arrive, and they all work together to face off against Phil. However, to Mui's horror, Phil unleashes a powerful blast of energy that knocks everyone out. He taunts Mui, asking her what it feels like to come so close to victory, only to realize they never were near it to begin with. He constricts her with an appendage and prepares to teleport her back to Alizard, but Mui says she will never acknowledge him as a hero, as she only has one. As her tears fall to the ground, Akatsuki arrives in Sleipnir and rescues Mui just in time. He faces off against Phil once more, but it is no longer easy as it once was given his dragon form. When he sees Phil prepare a blast breath attack, Akatsuki braces himself, but he realizes he is not the target, but Mui. Akatsuki manages to defend Mui just in time, but his bands are destroyed in the process, depriving him of his weapon. Despite this, he intends to fight on. Mui and Haruka lend him their bands to allow him to make his counterattack. The fight is even at first, but Akatsuki is knocked high into the air. However, hearing Mui's voice jolts him awake, and he creates a sword even stronger than the last to deliver the killing blow to Phil, cutting him in half and ending the crisis. The results of the promotion exams see Akatsuki and his team jumping straight to rank A. He then meets Kaido on the roof, where he says he knows it was Kaido's chains that kept Phil in place for his final attack. Kaido laughs it off and contacts a mysterious individual, saying that he is unsure that Akatsuki would ever join their group, but maintains that he will continue his surveillance of Akatsuki. Back in Alizard, Lord Garam is in disbelief upon hearing the news of Phil's defeat, and must now face the consequences of making a deal with the fabled Dragon of Woe. Things are further complicated when they receive reports that the Dark Clan have attacked one of their armies, breeding a new conflict. Listy, remembering Akatsuki's words that he would come at a moment's notice, cries, and as her tears hit the ground, Akatsuki senses it from a world away. After having Mui reveal the truth of her heritage with Kazuha and Chikage, he says he must return to Alizard due to the effects of Mui's discovery. As he prepares to teleport them back, they are joined by Kaido and Haruka, and they decide to go back together. The spell goes through, and the six of them travel to Alizard and begin their adventure anew.